are in the second half of the NBA season post-All-Star break, which means trades and deadlines and possible playoff slots. Also these days, more and more professional sports figures are becoming politically engaged in and off the court issues, especially when it comes to discussing playing the game behind the game. Eric Hicks of Game Over NYC. Welcome, Eric.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah. I think you've been on here more than anyone else, right?
It's been a lot.
Yeah,
I love it here.
I know we've got a lot of people complaining about it. And Vernon Jones, CEO of Jig Media and NYCsports.com. Also, welcome back. You know, you were one of the founders here, right with me, started a long time ago. But we're not here to discuss history. We'll leave that to the History Channel. All right. No, let's talk about what's going on in the NBA real quick, especially with the Nets. They are fighting for what? Stay above the basement, or?
They're just fighting. I mean, well, hopefully they're fighting, but the real thing is that tomorrow is the trade deadline. So what are the Nets going to do to improve, and what can they do to improve? And as we look at it today, the only thing that they can do that they haven't tried or haven't tried successfully is trade some of their pieces for draft choices and try to rebuild. The good thing about the Nets is that they play in the same town as the Knicks, so everybody's focusing on the Knicks and how futile their efforts have been. So the Nets have a chance to, under the radar, maybe trade Brook Lopez and get some draft choices, because he's worth at least one first-round draft choice, and try to rebuild during the draft.
The Knicks got D Rose. They may let go and trade off tomorrow to Minnesota.
I heard that D Rose might go to Minnesota. Yes.
And also LaMelo, he's still in the running, right? To be.
Well, I mean, I guess they could.
If he wants to go, though.
Yeah.
They could try to, D Rose. I mean, trying to, trading him. To me, what are you going to get from him? Who's really, because he's hurt all the time. To me, he's a guy. You end up at the Knicks at the end of your career when you're hurt, because that's when the Knicks, they're one of the only teams that actually take players like that.
Chance.
So now to try to get other teams to do what they do, it's a little tough.
Well, the one thing I'll say about D Rose, though, is he's had a decent season. He's averaging about 17 points a game. They're talking about swapping him with a couple other things for Ricky Rubio.
And he'll be back there with his old coach, right? Thibodeau,
he'll be back there with Thibodeau. And the thing about Ricky Rubio is he's a ball distributor, and Derrick Rose is a ball dominant guard, a score-first guard. So maybe if they keep Carmelo and they have Porzingis and they have a ball distributor, nah, it ain't gonna work. But I'm just trying to say that.
I'm not a Carmelo fan, because I don't think he has that superstar winner mentality. In the fourth quarter, he disappears. He passes the ball to other people. He shoots air balls. He's not a superstar
and people
player.
have been critical of his lack of defense.
I can't do a Carmelo.
Carmelo's
a piece.
Right.
He's not a major, he's not the focal point, but he's a piece. And I'm one of these guys when it comes to Derrick Rose and the Carmelo Anthony. If you love him, let him go. Carmelo, go somewhere and try to get a championship. Derrick Rose, I like you too.
You'll get one here in New York?
What? Are you kidding me? That was funny. No, let these guys go. I mean, and try to do something with their career. It's not going to happen here in New York, man. I like them enough to let them go. And the same thing with Derrick Rose. Go on out there. You got a few years left in that body. Go on out there and try to pursue a championship.
All right. Speaking of that, we're going to let that play out the rest of the year, right? We've got a couple more months left in the season. Hopefully the Knicks may get a playoff slot.
All right. And then that season is over? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, Okay. But off the court, man, that's where the Knicks have all the press, right? What happened with Charles Oakley, and, him wanting to be accepted by the team, and as far as him coming back, and, they basically tossed him out. And there's a lot of undercurrent with that. They said he's been trying to communicate with the owner, James Dolan, about becoming much more part of the organization, like some of the other athletes who played with the Knicks.
What do you think?
Well, that would have happened already. It's been years. He's one of those guys, I guess for whatever reason, Dolan didn't bring him in. He didn't have a position for him, or he wanted somebody else. But how many years has it been? So to try to come in now, I guess he's upset. He's probably upset that it never happened. But as far as what happened at the game, where you tried to throw him out the game, that's ridiculous. I mean, he paid for the ticket. In fact, to me, he gave Dolan his money. You gave Dolan your money to come in to be treated like that. And the truth is, Oakley is like a legend for the Knicks. People who loved the Knicks during that time, you loved Oakley. Whether you loved the Knicks or not, he made it exciting, and to treat him like that is ridiculous.
My philosophy on this is Dolan was absolutely 100% wrong in that.
But It's my place. So, I mean,
Go ahead, say that. Say that.
You come to my house.
Absolutely.
You're talking trash.
But like, let's say over at the Steidel.
You know what? Get out.
You do not air your dirty laundry.
You don't disrespect me in my house.
You do not air your dirty laundry or fight in front of your customers.
Correct.
He could have got up and sat anywhere in that building just to get through that moment. He owns the place. And said, next time, we don't want Charles Oakley in the building. But to have something like that on national TV in front of all of the fans, how are you going to win? So you lose for that moment, and you move on. And let me just say, Charles Oakley, do you really care that the man doesn't like you? It's almost like trying to pursue a girl, and she says, I'm not interested. How many times are you going to run your face into that brick wall before you realize that she don't want you? Well, he don't want you in his building. Go on, move on, do your own thing. If Charles Oakley said, I'm going to have a party in New York City for the 70 greatest players of New York Knicks history, everybody would come. Have your own party. Have your own thing. Why do you think that you have to be accepted by this man 30 years later? Move on with your life. The hell with Dolan.
Is there also, well, some folks have been discussing there's a racial component to all this, because Dolan, in his PR sense, he was able to get Bernard King, Sprewell, all of them to come and sit by his side and say, you know what, I'm not that bad. And also, he may have headed off maybe NAACP, you know, maybe some other folks coming in there and started demonstrating in front of the Garden. Was that also a possibility of this happening because of what happened with Sprewell? Am I going somewhere?
That's what people are, you know. That's in the air. People are saying that could be a possibility.
But he has black people on staff. So
right. You know, I mean, I look at it like, first of all, what is the Dolan? You have the skybox. Go sit in the skybox. You shouldn't be sitting down there anyway. Yeah. But you know, the fact is that, you know, as far as the racial overtones and things like that, he does have, you know, black players, you know, playing for him. But he's an owner of a team. It's still that mentality. I'm running this team. These are my warriors, my gladiators on the court, on the field. That's how an owner thinks.
But
so
that's it.
As
an owner, the Knicks have just always been in chaos compared to the Rangers. And the Rangers have been to the championship. They won the championship.
Let me say this.
Go ahead.
If you have to get Latrell Sprewell to sit next to you to boost your credibility with black people,
right?
You got a problem. All right, Latrell Sprewell, that's like Donald Trump bringing Don King.
Well, you know what? They have a long relationship with Don King. You can't say that now. Let's go back to the 80s.
But who are you trying to get credibility with people like that, with props like that?
Okay.
Now, come on. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
When I first heard that Latrell Sprewell was sitting next to Dolan on it the next day, it's like, okay, so you knew what this was. You know, you dug deep down to get like Latrell Sprewell. Where was he?
Everybody knew what it was except Latrell Sprewell.
Right. He went because, you know, he's just happy to be. I'm invited to the game. I'm happy.
He received an award. But in terms of, it was a free trip. Hotel, all that's applied for, right? Supplied. I mean, Dolan supplied all of that for him, so what the heck? Might as well take the trip. Let's look at also, should some of these professional sports teams, athletes are becoming much more politically engaged, right? I mean, as far as we saw the athletes taking a stand during the football season. Now Trump's in office. Are they becoming, where are some of these professional athletes right now? Are they including themselves in these demonstrations? Also, should some of these professional teams become much more politically engaged instead of just giving out T-shirts, maybe a camp and all that stuff?
Well, you look at I guess you have to start with Kaepernick. You know, it's the fact that he was taking a knee. At first, he took a lot of flack on that, but then all of a sudden, people started rallying around him, and it became this big thing where now they supported him. So sometimes it takes that one brave athlete to really try to make a stand, and then once the public starts to get behind you, then other players will start taking a knee, and then they start making a stand. But until then, remember, they're dealing with a lot of money.
And that's okay on the left, but on the right, you got Tom Brady, who also wants to stand with the president. That's okay, too.
Well, everybody has their right. I think, especially with social media, these guys are given a bigger platform now than ever in the history of sports. And the way things are in our society, and particularly in our communities, you got to meet the people where they're at. So if the kids are looking up to you and the kids are watching everything that you say, you almost have a responsibility to say some things that are impactful and that can make the changes that are necessary in a society.
But back in the day, during the 60s and 70s, the athletes lived in the community. They were much more engaged. They weren't that far removed from probably from Jim Crow. their parents probably went through some sort of Jim Crow and also maybe even slavery to a degree.
But I think social media, and the president has worked social media like a champ, social media has made it possible for you to reach more and more people and to have an impact. And if you really want change, I think the days where we're almost anesthetized by, you know, the small talk in sports and the small talk in society and even the entertainment business has to end. Because if you're still concentrating on loving hip hop and whether LeBron James can, whether LeBron James can make clutch shots, versus focusing on the fact that LeBron James put 400 kids to school in the college and paid their bill, these are the things that you're socially active.
Cool. All right.
And one last thing, we brag about all of the athletes that are from Brooklyn. Brooklyn this, Brooklyn that. We got this athlete, that athlete, more NBA players. Who came back and built gyms or built community centers and gyms in these communities? Nobody. Even at the Brooklyn Stadium, one church, St. Philip's Christian Church, builds the Brooklyn Stadium that has transformed an entire community through sports.
They're giving out T-shirts. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you know, that's a good point. And I always look at professional athletes during their time, especially, you know, in New York or Chicago, any city like that, a big city, but especially New York, where you have these players all their career, you never hear of them, you never see them. They really not doing anything. Right. But then when they're like a year out, just getting ready to retire, now they start to figure out, what am I going to do? You have to be thinking about that all along. But a lot of these guys, sometimes they'll go, even investing their money, we could, you know, go into that. That's a whole different business. Where investing their money, here it is, you come from, you know, let's say you come from Brooklyn. I'll take Isaiah Whitehead, or take Lance Stevenson or Sebastian Telfair. You come from Coney Island. But meanwhile, Coney Island's being built up. How many buildings do you own? How many lots did you buy?
You know what?
Did you do any of that stuff? That's real money, and people all over the world are coming to Brooklyn buying things, and you're buying things in where else?
We got to go.
Jones.
You know what? Preach, Jones. You know what? But we'll come back. We will discuss the business of sports the next time. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.